This video is part 2 in our 3-part series on how to build a wall cabinet. In the first one, we got the carcass put together. Once the glue is dry on assembling the carcass, you can take the clamps off, and next thing we're going to do is make the face frame that goes over the front of that carcass. In order to make the face frame, have a look at your cut list, have a look at the plan. What we're going to do is rip our face frame parts to size. In order to get to that point, what you really want to do first is straight line these pieces. What I mean by that is just what it sounds like. We're going to use the track in order to cut one good straight edge on every one of these pieces. Don't rely on the factory edge on this stuff as being straight. Then we're ready to cut these to size. So same stop system I used on the carcass in the first part of the video. We're going to get set up so that we can get everything cut uniformly to width. Then with the stop set, that sawn edge that we just produced will go against the stops, right there. And it's helpful for the track. If we take one of our other pieces and put it there and there, just keeps everything kind of balanced. And then there's all sorts of rinse and repeat going to go on here. And just keep on keeping on. It's a good time, as long as you're doing this, it's a good idea to go ahead and cut your door frame parts at the same time. Look at your cut list, they're the same width. So once we're set up for face frame components, could be economy of movement here, doing your door frame components at the same time. So get all the pieces that you need ripped to width, and then we'll look at getting this stuff sized perfectly to make the face frame for the cabinet. One of the things you always want to do, remember how we ripped these to get a good edge on them. Before you cut them to length, you want to cross cut them to get a good end on them. So I'm not cutting them to length yet, I'm just squaring up one end. And then I'm marking that so I know which end I just did that squaring cut on. I'm not a fan of measuring. I am a fan of gauging whenever we can. So what I mean by that is instead of measuring how long should these stiles be, the vertical component, I'm going to put that square end even with the top of the case. And I'm feeling it to be flush. Then move to the other end and mark it even with the bottom. So at the end of the day, what's happening is the length of that stile is the same as the length of our case side. Then, to get our rails, it'll be like that but different. I'm going to do a stile and a stile. Then I've got that square end on the rail, and I butt that against the stiles. Make the stiles flush. Mark the other end of the rail. So the key to this is two stiles here. This is giving us stile, rail, stile, making the rail so it fits in between them without having to do any math and figure this out. Then when you cross cut these babies to length, looking for my squared ends and my pencil mark, your best bet is to cut two rails together and even go so far as to clamp them to make sure that they stay aligned on that squared end. And now when we cut them to length, we know that those two rails are going to be perfectly identical, which is really important for the face frame. Next step, pocket holes. Pocket holes are an incredible way to put face frames together. Lots and lots and lots of strength here, very easy to do. So when you do this, big warning is make sure that you're keeping the same face up against the drill guides here. We want to drill, rotate, drill. Don't allow that piece to flip. If you end up with pocket holes on opposing faces, it just doesn't work. get a few things together here and we can put her together. When you assemble, a little bit of glue on the end of that rail. And then a little down pressure from a clamp. Then that's ready to go on the cabinet. Putting the face frame on is going to be really simplified by maybe my favorite cabinet making tip ever, which is start by tapping a nail in. This is a 4-penny brad. Somewhere around 4-penny works great for this. Then with side cutters, clip it so it's just a little bit above the surface. One on each corner. What we're gaining from this is that if you don't do this, our next step is gluing. If you don't have those brads sticking up like spurs, when you put the face frame into glue, it just wants to swim around. It moves all over the place. So having those brads hold it up out of the glue, and then they're going to act like spurs to engage in the back of the face frame when we're ready to actually position it. In order to clamp this, it's going to be easier if we're up on blocks. And then with your face frame, let it just sit up on those spurs and then get it where you want it. So we're going to be flush, centered, and then once you're in your happy place and your face frame is in its happy place, push, and what that down pressure does, now it's seated onto that spur. And as you work your way down and around, it's not impossible. There can be some flex in that plywood carcass. It's not impossible that you're going to have to flex this just a little, just like I'm doing right there, in order to get stuff into alignment. So if you come down to the bottom, get centered again, push against the spurs. Get on the rest of your clamps. What I'm going to shoot for here is one more clamp across this rail, 2 more clamps up each stile, and then let that glue dry, and there. That takes care of our face frame work. And procedurally, what I like about this is don't make the face frame until the carcass is done. And the way that we did this, we sized that face frame perfectly for this particular cabinet, so it has to fit because of the way we transferred measurements. A couple more clamps to go and this is going to be set.